Hello, welcome to Healing with Ketamine. I'm your host, Dr. Cassius Drake, and it's my pleasure to be with you today to discuss our work at the Drake Center, our work on transformation, on healing, involving mindfulness, meditation, creativity, spirituality, and everything that it takes to be a whole and complete human being. We have a very special topic today. We have two guests with us. I have my wife and partner, Jacqueline, as well as our special guest, Dennis, who's going to discuss his experience with us today. And if you've been following along with the podcast, you know that we discuss our work at the Drake Center involving ketamine-assisted therapy, as well as our overarching paradigm of transformative change and what it takes to really evolve as a human being. And that paradigm that we use is called the way of the butterfly. And the way of the butterfly is a paradigm for change to guide spiritual evolution, to guide a psychedelic experience, to guide personal transformation. It's a paradigm that came from our own work on ourselves, my own work in recovery from loss and evolution, and answering the question of what does it take to evolve when things can't go back to the way that they were before. It's a paradigm modeled on the journey of a caterpillar to a butterfly and all of those stages that it goes through, from realizing it's time to change, to entering a process that may even have a mysterious element that now allows it to evolve, and then to emerge and be a different and more beautiful creation. This is the heart and soul of the work that we do, and we're very happy to have the opportunity to discuss that work today and its powerful, transformative potential. So Dennis, thanks for being here with us today. It's our pleasure to have you here and have you share your experience with the Drake Center and the Way to Butterfly. So welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to share my story because if I could share my story and somebody else is able to benefit from it, then what a great reason to be here.
Yeah. So, you came to us for an interesting way. As we discussed, you initially met us. You did some work for us, some creative work for us. And then during the course of doing that work, we obviously talked about everything that we do here. And it took you a bit to actually experience it and to understand it. So why don't you share that process with me?
Yeah, I mean, I was curious about really what it means what the way of the butterfly means, and yep, I was involved in helping to redesign your website, and in the process, of course, you needed to understand what your business is, but moreover, it was like, what is this really all about? And so I was very curious, could this apply to my own life? I was going through some of my own issues that come up from time to time in life. And so recently I've become a single empty nester, which I don't like that term, empty nester. I'm trying to change it to launch the birds or whatever it is. But both my daughter and my son are off to school. I'm recently divorced and just feeling like that. What's my mission? What's my sense? And I feel like I lost my way, and I was feeling blue. It was hard getting out of bed in the morning. And so here I'm like right in front of me. I get to read and talk to you both and get a sense of things. So I wanted to, explore and see, well, maybe this is something for me to try to change.
Yeah. So, and that's that, as we talk about, that's that stage in the journey of the caterpillar to the butterfly where it reaches that point of the caterpillar was growing as much as it could grow in its current form. It's time to change. And that's when people start seeking and asking questions and going, I need to do something, I need to evolve. And so we talk a lot in our process that we could talk about what this is, and we use these terms and these transformative terms, and people still can often be like, yeah, but what is that? What is that really? What is that you're really talking about? And the joke that we tell is often, some of this is like trying to tell someone what an egg roll tastes like. There are some things that just words don't really convey the meaning, and you just have to experience it. So you decided to make that leap.
Yes.
And you wanted to experience our paradigm, the way of the butterfly, which is just this approach to change without a psychedelic catalyst. And so you sat down with us and to experience that. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, what was appealing about getting to meet with you both was, look, I'm 59 years old. I've gone through a lot of different life experiences. I've been in therapy before. I'm going to say, I'm well-read, I'm well-educated, I'm open-minded, but I, still things weren't working for me, right? Mm-hmm. And I was at a place where I'm like, I don't want to go back and talk about my childhood or my parents. They were wonderful, and I know they did the best they could. And as a parent, I know I did the best I can for my kids. Like, I've moved through all those things before, yet I still felt stuck. Uh-huh. And so I think for me, it was, I wanted to have that transformation that we speak to. And I'm open-minded, but the ketamine wasn't the appealing part. Can we do this without ketamine? And what I love about what you're offering, it's not about the ketamine, it's about the process. Yeah. Like, if I'm a living testimonial, and that's what I like, is seeing the success of your patients, like, they made it through. It changed their life. Mm-hmm. I'm like, all right, how do we get there? And so you're asking me what it was like. I mean, it was transformative. Like, mm-hmm. In a very short amount of time, we got to my root cause, and out of it, I came away with a new outlook on life, like literally the way of the butterfly. And it happened so quickly that I just couldn't believe it. And I said, I don't know if I'm speaking in linear terms right now, Dr. Drake, but it's like, I felt like I was on ketamine, because I was like this high, and I was like, "Are you pumping something into the air?" When we had our session, it was extraordinary, but it had stayed with me, and it does stay with me, and it still drives me to this day. It's like I have opened up something in my brain that I did not anticipate happening.
Right. And that experience that you had that enabled you to get that was going through our process, a guided meditative process that Jacqueline leads through mindfulness and meditation work. It really helps you center and open and be comfortable to connect with deeper emotional things, and in a way and with an intention that meditative state allows you to see things differently. So, and this is that point in which we're throwing around all these great words. We're talking about transformation.
Right.
We're talking about it felt different. And if you're sitting there and you're listening to this, or even as you were hearing us tell these stories, you can still be like, but
what does it mean?
What does that really feel like?
Yeah.
So how was that for you? What shifted for you that's long lasting for you?
So the long lasting effect has been, honestly, like, the hardest part of my day is getting out of bed. Like, I would say I was depressed, and now what the outcome of my process, which I'm happy to speak to, my experience, is I get up every morning and I'm reminded of the mission that I'm on. I have this mantra: get up, get after your mission, which to me, it's also helping people make a difference. People make a difference. Like, I help them. I'm a media guy. I help people tell their stories, bring it. What value do they bring? What's their value proposition? Why does it matter? My job is to help them do that through my ability to be able to tell stories, write, communicate, market, etc. And so I have a mission, and I wake up with that mission every day. Plus, how it supports me and the lifestyle that I want, how I support my family, and I'd forgotten about the talents and the gifts that I have, and going through this process reminded me how fortunate I am, how much gratitude I have. So now I wake up with this feeling of gratitude, and I literally have a sign, "Get after your mission," that I wrote next to my bed, so that if I feel this way, and life's not perfect, it's like there are days I'm like, and then I look at that, I'm like, yup, and once I start, there's no going back. Yeah. It's so profound to me. And I'm happy to speak to, like, look, and I could go on. This could be a half an hour podcast just for me talking about this experience.
And you didn't have ketamine.
And I did not have ketamine.
Can we just say that? Yeah.
You know what? So my understanding of ketamine is, look, it helps. If it unblocks and opens things up, phenomenal. But it's not the ketamine that's the answer. Yeah. It's the process that's the answer. It's what you find in that journey that's the answer.
Exactly.
And what you did is you helped me find this. And so what was amazing to me, so I've been through a lot of different things. Get to a place in life where you become skeptical. I say I'm open-minded. Am I? So when I was coming in, did I expect to have this profound change? Unequivocally, no. I was open to the process, but I had absolutely did not count on the fact that I was going to have this change. As much as I think you're both wonderful people, and I read the testimonials, like you said, it's like until you eat the egg roll, you don't know what an egg roll tastes like. That's how it felt for me. So, like walking in the door, and then we sat in a room. I also do yoga, and I'm familiar with meditation. So when we got into like a meditative process, you asked me some questions to get to know me a little bit better. What am I getting at? And then meditating, and Jacqueline, very soothing voice. Both of you, super comfortable, made me feel warm and welcome, maybe the most comfortable chair I've ever sat in. Your facility in Franklin is just gorgeous. There's ambient noise, but like there's a church bell that seemed to chime at the right times. I'm like, I don't know how you did that. But it's an extraordinarily warm, amazing experience, and it just feels very safe. And so as I'm in the room with you both and I'm sinking into this chair, I just felt more and more relaxed. And then we did these great breathing exercises and meditation. And I don't know exactly what the words were used as you took me through this process, but it did help me to relax and kind of find this place. And I will say, and then you asked me some questions. And then when you had me go through this experience, and if I don't want to give, if I can share, it's like basically like holding some type of energy in my hands and bringing it within me. That I did this, and I could physically feel the experience of bringing like this energy into my person. I couldn't believe, I was like, I actually felt this.
Yeah.
And then you asked me some critical questions in that process, and it brought up things for me that I did not expect.
Yeah.
Like for me, going all the way back to like a profound moment in my life when I was 12 or 13 years old, where I didn't want to be confirmed as a Catholic, and I protested, etc., and I was told to do it anyway. And something happened in that transition in my life that reminded me that I still got involved in church. I'm not a Catholic per se. I'm open-minded about whatever things are, but I learned in the process that I was this talented, gifted speaker who liked to get up and speak scripture, even if I didn't necessarily believe in God and Jesus and all those things. It was more about the message that I could convey, and this process reminded me that how much I love the ability, that how important these stories are when trying to convey something that matters to people, to open them up. So it fit into exactly what my mission is. It reminded me of my mission is, and I haven't thought about that. I couldn't tell you. 30 years, 40, I don't even know when the last time I really thought about that process. I was blown away that came up, and then working through it very quickly, and then walking out with saying, I have these talents, what can I do with them, reminding me of my mission. So this is shorthand for what the process was, but in here with one session, I went from caterpillar thinking, which was I was eating myself up
That's what we call
and
it.
marinating on stuff and had a hard time getting out of bed, to butterfly. Now I feel like I'm literally soaring, and I have been ever since, and it's been a couple of months now, and it hasn't gone away at all. Like I wake up, if you can't tell, at all, and no ketamine for me. It's the process. It's the butterfly thing.
Yeah, that's what we love to hear.
Yeah. So
thank you for sharing
anyway,
that. And for using that
there goes
terminology.
your podcast.
Thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
especially the caterpillar and the butterfly terminology, because that's the essence of it. You come in with caterpillar consciousness, and that has reached this limit of where it can go. And then through this process, you discover or remember your true self and your true purpose, and reconnect with that and reinvigorate that. And then butterfly consciousness is living from that. And as we say, the last stage in the way of the butterfly paradigm, there's the caterpillar that's entering the chrysalis. There's discovering a new emotional foundation. I have a purpose from who am I, what am I doing? Oh yeah, I have a purpose. And then to say yes to that. And the emergence as a butterfly is the leap of faith to live from there, right? So you have this insight, and then moment to moment you have to choose to live it. And so and I love to hear about how you made a sign even.
Yeah, I do.
So
That
to remind you, to have these constant reminders that keeps it alive. And this is what we see, with when we bring the ketamine into it. All the ketamine does is catalyze this process a little faster. So what you experience, and as you said, I felt like was on ketamine. People report similar experiences, and the ketamine has a way of breaking down walls and opening things, and yet this can happen without it and can still be sustainable. And what was really special about the Drake Center that we feel is not only do we support you in getting to this place, but once you're here, we support you in staying here. And so on the other side of that transformation, there's I need to change, and then there's how do I maintain this change, or how do I live that way? And so, the other side of our offerings are creative work and virtual reality work and immersive therapies, and everything that's about once you feel better, what does it look like to have more energy, to be more creative? Do you want to speak to that side of it, Jackie?
Well, that's my favorite part, actually, of getting people. What I find is that with all of our patients, once they start feeling better in their headspace, right, then there's more room for other things. There's more room for other things you want to do. There's more space. And with the ketamine treatments, there literally is more space happening with the ketamine. There's neuroplasticity and neurogenesis, but the same thing happens with deep meditative practices as well. And the other thing, it also happens using VR as well. So there's a lot of neurogenesis, neuroplasticity that's actually helping you make more space. But what that looks like on the outside, what that looks like in your lifestyle, is creating things. Right. It's creating things. It's when I work with our patients, which I can't wait to work with you. We're going to do some more. But I do a lot of metal art, and we do mantra stuff. So when I hear that you actually made a sign for your room, that's incredible. Because that's what it is. It's always reinforcing. We use virtual reality as well to reinforce that with meditative practices in that. And there's a lot of other ways that you can just, develop your own morning practices, right, to get you moving and get you going. And the physical aspect of that, too, is once people start feeling better in their headspace, that's when they may want to start to move a little bit more, and I call it dance, but there's a lot there, even in the headset, too. And people get, back to walking and doing other things, too.
You know what, Jacqueline?
So it becomes like a lifestyle thing. And even when the triggers start to come up, right, you have that space to go back to, your mental space to go back to, that, makes your day go a little bit better.
For sure. And you know what? You gave me this chart of things to do about feeling anxiety or depression or a series of different things. And then try, then move physically or dance or, draw or write or whatever it is to help counteract that feeling. It's so helpful. That's the practice that comes up, and fair to say it's not a daily thing, but when it comes up, have that as well, and it's been amazing. And the virtual reality part, that was that. I feel like literally that helped to sink it in, and I'll give it away, sitting there and putting on the Oculus set, and then. For me, it was an underwater experience, and breathing in the bubbles of air. It's so profound. It's so real. You feel it, and you're in I was open from all the meditation and conversation, but that was it just made it sink another layer of relaxation that again I didn't expect. I'm like, wow, this is. Amazing, and it wasn't virtual reality for me. It became reality for me. I'm like, right. I am fully here, and how am I doing this right now?
Right.
Was extraordinary.
There's a lot to that, actually, about how being in these immersive spaces make us become more present. So there's a lot to that as well, and that's kind of where my focus is on my YouTube channel and all that. But it's really what I tell people to use it for is for their mind space, right? It's even with the hard exercises that I do and boxing or whatever it may be, when you take off the headset, you feel grounded, you feel centered, you feel, whoa, I am right here in this moment. Because when you're in it, you have nothing else to think about, right? And then what you were talking about with it's all biofeedback, right? You can actually see your breath work, which you don't get in a yoga class, right? You can actually see your breath going out in whatever activities it has in it. There's some programs that we also use that I put the controllers on a patient's belly, and they're able to control their whole experience just with their lower belly breath. And I teach a lot about lower belly breath, so. But yeah, in the sheet that I gave you with all the different activities, that really comes from mindfulness practices, right? And so there's different ways, especially with different patterns of thoughts, right, that we can get into, anxiety-producing thoughts or depression thoughts. Any which way of those thoughts, we can always find our way out of it by doing something that literally is pulls us out of, I call it the broken record, monkey mind chatter, whatever we want to call it. But it pulls us out of that. And virtual reality does the same thing too. The same thing with creativity. When I'm putting, with my big paintings, when I'm pouring my heart and soul into a very big canvas, I have nothing else I'm thinking about. In that moment, I am in that painting. I am doing it. And the same thing happens with VR.
Yeah. So, I definitely experienced it. I remember driving home that day. Felt like I was driving through VR, and I called my business partner who was like, is this the same person I've been talking to? And also in that moment, there was something that we were working on. I'm like, I have the solution. It also, just like that.
Your creativity, I was gonna add that.
Came up.
And because you are a creative, I am not surprised that your creativity will just explode. Because when I actually think about when we get out of our own mind, our own way, basically, the divine guidance or whatever you want to call it, the creative flow comes in clearer. And you can hear it clearer. And so getting out of the stuff. And so it doesn't surprise me that you got more creative.
Yeah, it's been great. And letting things go.
Yeah.
Like my daughter's 3 weeks into her freshman year, she's going through her own transformation right now. I mean, just from experience, right? It's like an unnerving experience of sleeping in a bed with a new roommate and taking classes, being on her own. And for me, I also feel more grounded in letting things go and not trying to solve for her. I haven't shared that with you, but that's also been, it's not just like trusting in the process for my own creativity, but I'm finding that I'm trusting in the process in general, and that includes the people that are in my life. And people have said to me that you seem changed, and I'm like, I am changed. And
You
I'm
took
also
my question.
That's it.
oh, for sure. And so, and I think about friends and family members that I have who I adore and love and that are amazing people, but they are stuck, like, to me, and I'm like, they have been in there, like, I don't want to say, I have a dear relative who's been in therapy for 40 years, and I'm like, okay, look, I'm glad you're still here, et cetera, but it's been the same thing. I'm like,
story
so if I always do what I've always done, right, I always get what I've always gotten, so to speak, and so he's still there, and I'm like, brother, it's time, it's time. So I, may have another. I'm working on that, but it has to be when they're ready. I get that, but I understand that.
Yeah.
Like that's why I was just like, wow, this was so uniquely different than anything I've experienced before.
Yeah, and thank you so much for everything.
Yeah.
As you tee that up of seeing people who are in caterpillar consciousness.
Yeah.
Now that you've had a taste of butterfly consciousness.
Yes.
And what would you say to them? What could have been said to you?
I think it's just more like, you keep saying these things, but you're still unhappy. You keep saying these things, yet you're still doing it. It's kind of like, look, actions speak louder than words. And so I know you're working on all this stuff, like the caterpillar. I've chewed down how many trees, probably, right? And busy and active and all of those things. But if I'm still expressing whatever this is, and I've had friends who said that, you're still, like, why are you still upset about that? It happened 3 years ago. I'm like, it's a good question. So I think it's saying that. It's like, this is great, but you're still feeling that. Maybe you should try something else. And I think, actually, Dr. Drake, I think that's what I kind of said to myself. Like, you're still feeling this. So nothing else is really, I've read stacks of books of all the, changes I've gone through in the last few years, divorce, et cetera. And it was helpful to get me through, the grieving part, all the stages. But the final thing was just like, I hadn't felt good getting out of bed until I had this. So I'm like, for me, it was just, how do I get rid of this thing that was stuck right here in my chest?
Yeah, that heaviness.
And I'm so glad. And look, there are times something comes up and I'm like, I feel that. And then that's why the sign, that's when I know once I move again, and even talking about this, I already have, like, I'm right back. Like, I'm right back. So I just think it's like, look, if this is all great, I'm glad you're doing these things, saying to my friends and family, but you're still talking about the same thing. And I love you. How can we move past? What's away? Yeah. So how much do you need to go back and sort through the picture boxes of your childhood? Maybe it's time to try something now and see what you can do. That's what I would say.
Yeah, you might just feel different.
Yeah, I'm tired. I was tired of chewing on the leaves.
Yeah, right. It's time to evolve.
Yeah, flying is a lot more fun than crawling around on a branch.
I just want to add too that you're starting to notice the triggers, right? So when they start to happen, and what I find with all of this work, Way of Butterfly or with ketamine integrations. Either way, like, we start to recognize the triggers faster with this work. And I always think it's like we're starting to allow some space in between our thoughts with all meditative practices and stuff.
Yep.
But you start to see the triggers more easy, and then you can kind of stop them before they get there, right? And triggers, and then you find your glimmer. I mean, there's some wording like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's what you've been doing. Like, you're like, oh, wait, I have a tool.
Yeah,
I have a tool. I don't have
true.
to go down that road again.
And if you don't mind, too, on the butterfly paradigm, I think, as a caterpillar, it's like something comes up and I have these leaves in front of me and I feel like I have to eat them. And I'm like, as a butterfly, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to fly to another tree right now.
That's right.
I don't need to be in this tree.
That's right.
This tree is not. I want a tree that offers me a view, and I want those flowers that I can have.
It is an utterly different view of life. And it's an utterly different view that's based on a different emotional relationship with life. Right? And that's what comes up in these experiences. You have this emotional relationship with life in the beginning of gotta eat the leaves, you know, gotta do the thing, gotta do the work, and then there's this perspective of, but I'm beautiful, and I can fly and look at these beautiful flowers. And those flowers are there, even when you're the caterpillar, you can't see them. Mm-hmm. But it's only when you get to that different place of consciousness, and then you can see things differently and wake up and feel differently. And that's what changes everything. It's that change in how you feel about existing that changes how you think about life. And, you know, and that can be achieved in a number of ways. It can be achieved through guided practices. It can be achieved through the way of the butterfly. It can be achieved with psychedelic catalysts. It can be achieved in many ways. What most important, I think, you know, is the point of this is that it needs to be in the process. You need a guided process to do the change. The caterpillar is a change without a chrysalis. You need something to hold you while you fall apart and rebuild. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's a critical piece. You know, the caterpillar doesn't just change. You know, it enters into another space in which it evolves, and then it emerges different. And that's part of it is important, and that happens in meditation. It happens in psychedelics. It happens in many ways, and that's our goal, to support everyone through that. So, and it's just so gratifying to see the work and to see you know, people evolve. You know, as I often say, our secret mission is to create more butterflies and have them out there being demonstrations of what's possible.
Well, I want to express my gratitude for your mission. Like, I mean, your mission has changed my life, and so, and you know, knowing what I know about you as an ER doctor and a nurse and an artist, et cetera, and now you're taking your ability, you know, your experiences and healing people in one way and putting them into another. So I am so grateful because it's made a profound difference in my life. So really, thank you both so much. And that's why I'm all in. I'm so happy to be here because I want to come on. Like, as many people as can experience this, it would make me happy too.
Good.
I want to pay it forward. Absolutely.
It's that good. And I appreciate your enthusiasm. And, you know, obviously we're ketamine providers, but we're about transformative change. And that's what we're about. And we powerfully advocate for the potential for transformative change in many ways.
You know, just add too that a lot of people, some people can't take ketamine, right? That maybe need it. That are like, well, I have this and that. There's some medical reasons why people can't do it. And psychological or even just physical medical reasons. And you know, this basically an opportunity to be able to still have profound change in mind and body, because it starts to happen.
I feel fortunate that I felt I didn't need the ketamine to unblock you. The process unblocked me, but I would say if you need the ketamine, do it. Great.
Absolutely.
But it's this process though that you go through. Once you're unblocked, it's amazing. For me, it's amazing how.
And now you can see if you had ketamine, you can see how the integration goes from there.
I wonder. I'll admit, I do wonder. Okay.
Anyway,
well, this has been an incredible conversation, and so thank you, Dennis, for participating both in the process and in our program today. It's been our honor to support you and to hear about your journey. So
thank you very much.
And that's going to wrap us up today on this episode of Healing with Ketamine. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time as we continue our discussions on everything it takes to be a whole, happy, and complete human being. Thank you very much.